Good morning. Welcome to the October 17th, 2024 meeting of the City of Glendale's Arts and Culture Commission. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Yang,
Here.
Commissioner Tufenkian,
Here.
Commissioner Zadorian,
Here.
Commissioner Tayan,
Here.
Commissioner Kazorian,
Here.
and Chairperson Vidor.
Here.
Agenda item 1, the agenda for the October 17th, 2024 regular meeting of the Glendale Arts and Culture Commission was posted on October 14th, 2024 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Agenda item 2, consent items, minutes of the September 19th, 2024 regular Arts and Culture Commission meeting, and minutes of the October 10th, 2024 special Arts and Culture Commission meeting.
Anybody have any comments, questions, additions, corrections? No? I have one question, and it doesn't, it involves something on the minutes, the regular minutes, but doesn't involve changing them. With the mural ordinance probably coming up in later 2025, this doesn't preclude us approving murals if they should come before us.
No, it does not.
Okay, thank you.
Then I move to approve the minutes.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call.
Roll call, Vice Chair Yang,
Yes.
Commissioner Tufenkian,
Yes.
Commissioner Zadorian,
Yes.
and Chairperson Vidor.
Yes.
Agenda item 3, introductions and presentations. 2024 to 2025 Student Ex Officio Commissioner Milena Tayan.
Hi, everyone. It's finally nice to meet all of you in person. I just want to say how excited I am to be working with all of you. As a future filmmaker, I'm always involved in the arts, and I'm hopeful to be the student voice for all the kids here in our district.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Next, we have 2024 to 2025 Student Ex Officio Commissioner Sophia Kazorian.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much
Morning.
for having me. And I just want to say thank you for choosing me for your student commissioner. And I am currently in Chapman University and studying to be a political science. And I just want to better the arts and culture committee, arts and culture in Glendale and just make it better for the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to both of you. Next item.
Next is Library Arts and Culture events presented by Loretta Lopez, Program Coordinator. This Filipino-American History Month, we celebrate the history, traditions, accomplishments, and legacy of Filipinos in America. On Thursday, October 24th, enjoy a performance by Kaya Manan Nglahi Philippine Folk Arts at Casa Verdugo Library from 5 p.m. to 5:45 p.m. Experience the richness and diversity of Philippine culture through dance, music, and song. For more information, please visit the link on the screen. Join us for eclectic live music outside on the Artslock Paseo. The Jewel City Concert Series is underway with 2 concerts remaining this month. This Saturday, October 19th, enjoy Latin electronic music performed by Jay Weddle. Next Saturday, October 26th, teen band Ominous Duck will close the series with punk and alternative rock music. The Jewel City Concert Series offers free outdoor 60-minute concerts that can be experienced by families and people of all ages. For more information, please visit the link on the screen. Glendale Library Arts and Culture invites you to join a series of virtual author talks in partnership with the Library Speakers Consortium. On Tuesday, October 22nd at 11 a.m., join us as Lori Gottlieb shares her wisdom on examining the truths and fictions we tell ourselves to help us break through what is holding us back and getting in the way of living the life we desire. For more information, please visit the link on the screen. Join the City of Glendale and Glendale Library Arts and Culture for the annual Dia de los Muertos festivities. Dia de los Muertos is a Mexican holiday that celebrates life and reunites the living and the dead. This year, the celebration will take place at the Glendale Central Library on November 2nd from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Activities include Aztec dancers, mariachi, face painting, and more. For more information, please visit the link on the screen. Ventana Huichola by Natalie Gonzalez is currently on view at the Adams Square Mini Park gas station through Monday, November 11th. Ventana Huichola, Huichol window in Spanish, is a site-specific installation consisting of 4 pieces made of various sized God's eyes. These votive objects offer luck for those that pass by and honor the Huichol community in Mexico. Having these objects in Glendale offer protection to the city and create a window to the world of the Huichol culture. For more information, please visit the link on the screen. Join us on Wednesday, November 13th at 6 p.m. for Artful Conversations, a collaborative art history and poetry workshop at Bryan Library and Arts Center. Facilitated by art historian Valerie Taylor and poet Tina Demirjian, this collaborative workshop invites participants to learn about the art exhibition Blended Worlds, Experiments in Interplanetary Imagination, and respond to it through poetry. For more information, please visit the link on the screen.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any comments? Nope. Okay, we can move on. Thank you.
Agenda item 4, written communications, there are none. And agenda item 5, oral communications, we do have 2 people.
Okay, I have Armin Kivanian. Come on up. Thank you very much for being here.
Chair Vidor, commissioners, staff. My name is Armand Kevanian. I can see a giant grin on Chairman Vidor's face because she remembers me a lot because I used to be sitting on that side and had many interactions with her from this side also. I just wanted to give a very brief, I'm actually not quite prepared to give a presentation on an event of the Armenian Pops Orchestra, which is conducted by Greg Hosharian on November 10th, Sunday, November 10th at 6 p.m. at the Alex Theater. I'll be guest conducting for that concert, but more importantly, the Hosharians have done a huge service to the Armenian community and are finally doing a concert here at the Alex, so it's kind of a big deal. I wanted to invite all of you and extend an invitation to anyone who's viewing this broadcast. A little bit about the Hosharian Foundation. They support, specifically, they provide scholarships for students that are going into studies in music. And they do a huge service. I've known Greg for 20 years, and his father actually started the Armenian Pops Orchestra back in the 70s. And of course, Peter, his brother, is an attorney here in Glendale, so they're very involved in the community. So I wanted to extend that invitation to all of you and hope you'll join us for that. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Armin Karaogyanyan.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the commissioners for having me. My name is Armin Karaogyanyan. I'm with the Armenian Film Society. I was here a couple of months ago to talk about the Armenian Film Festival. And I'd like to provide a recap on how the festival went and share some information and some pictures with you all. Just a quick refresher in case it might be helpful. The Armenian Film Society was founded in 2015 by my wife, Mary, and I in Glendale. And for the past 9 years or so, we've hosted about 100 events in Glendale, in LA, and all around the world. And we have some really great partnerships with some great leading film organizations, and we're really expanding into this next year. AFS is Armenian Film Society, but we're also a film society. We're passionate about Armenian film, but we're also a collective of film lovers. And that's really evidenced by some of the programs that we've been doing recently, which is not specific to Armenian film. We've really expanded into just film in general. In the next slide, I talk a little bit about how this past year we started a collaboration with Look Cinemas, where we started screening movies we love, which is curated by our team. And we show films that don't have an Armenian connection, but they're movies that we happen to love. And we put them on the big screen and invite the community to come watch them. We've shown films like The Apartment, La La Land, Goodfellas, The Dark Knight, and we have some really fun holiday programming coming up. And these are just films that are for anybody who loves movies. So I was here a couple months ago to talk about our second annual Armenian Film Festival. It was held this past September 4th through the 8th at Look Cinemas. We had 5 days of sold-out screenings and events. We had over 1,500 people from all around the world come by. And we screened films from major international film festivals like Cannes and Toronto, and we had Oscar winners join us and come and speak to our audience. Some pictures of what the festival itself looked like. It was quite exciting to be able to come back for our second annual film festival. In many ways, it was a lot bigger in scope. We had over 30 films, and took a long time to curate a program that we felt was compelling enough for film lovers and people in the community to just come and watch and experience films from all around the world. I'd like to talk about the location. We were at Look Cinemas for the first time for the festival, but this past year we've been doing quite a few events with them. We really love this space because it has ample space for networking. Our guests, our attendees love to network before and after screenings. There's a bar and lounge area, a large outdoor courtyard space, which we took advantage of. It was one of the big highlights of this year's festival because people really love to be able to connect with one another, whether they're filmmakers or just happen to, stop by and watch a film. They like to connect with other folks in the area. And we've been holding some of our big events here. We have a flagship Armenian Women in Film and Entertainment panel that we do every year for International Women's Day. And this past year we had our panel held here as well. So this has kind of become a little bit of our home, if you will. We host events all around Glendale and all around different venues, but we've been doing a lot of programming here, and this became the home for this year's festival. We were in this courtyard space for opening night, closing night. It was really great to be able to, have live music and a DJ, some cocktail tables for people to hang around and be able to connect with one another. These are just some pictures of what the setup looked like. To the left is opening night. To the right is closing night. It was really just a good experience to give to people who were there to watch a film and discover new, filmmakers, but also just get to hang out and have a good time with everybody there. In terms of programming, we were very fortunate to host a lot of premieres this year. We hosted the U.S. premiere of Adam Egoyan's Seven Veils, which is a film that stars Academy Award-nominated actress Amanda Seyfried. Had not been shown in the U.S. before, so we were very fortunate to screen that film. We hosted the film festival premiere of a film called Between Borders, which stars Elizabeth Tabish from the hit TV show The Chosen, and she joined us in person for a conversation as well. We also had the LA premiere of the documentary film 1489, which won Best Film at IDFA, which is considered the Oscars for documentary films. And we hosted a conversation with Anahit Nazarian, who is Francis Ford Coppola's producer. Francis Ford Coppola is the director of the Godfather films. And she came by and she spoke for the first time, really, in her career, where a conversation was just dedicated to her kind of talking about her career. So we were very lucky to have her with us. Obviously, that's Councilmember Artie Kasakian speaking at our opening night. To the right is composer Michael Dana, who is the longtime collaborator of Adam Egoyan's films. He's a Glendale resident, and we've been welcoming him to some of our events, and he happens to be an Oscar winner, and it was really, really fantastic to have him come and talk to our community. Many people had never had the chance to see him speak before, and it was really lovely to have him at the festival. This is just some pictures from our panel conversation with the Between Borders team, Elizabeth Tabish in the middle. This film had never been screened publicly before. We hosted the first ever screening of the film, and in January it's going to be released in 1,000 theaters nationwide. The film is made by non-Armenians, but centers on a very real Armenian story. And the real-life couple that is depicted in the film flew in from West Virginia to join us for this conversation, so it was really great to have them there as well. That's Elizabeth Tabish to the left, lead actress of the film that I just mentioned, and the real-life couple and their daughter who joined us for the conversation. To the left is Shoragat Vardanyan, the film that I was talking about that won the prize for the documentary film. She's the filmmaker. She flew in from Yerevan, Armenia to join us for this very exclusive screening and talk. And to the right is Steve Bagmanian. He is the subject of the film we screened on closing night called The Last Repair Shop. That film won the Oscar earlier this year, and he's of Armenian descent, and he got to speak a little bit about his experience making that film.
We're just at about 5 minutes, so if you can.
Okay, we could just skip ahead a little bit. These are just some pictures. These are our sponsors. And then finally, just wanted to show, really grateful to have the Arts and Culture Commission be a part of this festival this year. This is just one of many pictures that I can share with some of the visibility that we were able to provide. And I think that's just about it. If you want to scroll through just any, these are wonderful volunteers who the festival would not be possible without. And that's our son, who was our favorite attendee at the festival. So I want to just really quickly say thank you again for being a part of this year's festival. It wouldn't have been possible in the way that I just shared without your support, and I look forward to more collaborations in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming and recapping everything for us.
Agenda item 6, action items, citywide public art landmarks, 134 freeway / Patterson Avenue tunnel artwork. Motion recommending that the city council authorize the city manager or a designee to enter into an agreement for commission of artwork with an artist / artist team to design a public art piece for the 134 freeway / Patterson Avenue tunnel artwork in an amount not to exceed $300,000 dispersed from the Urban Art Program Fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. We are very excited to share 5 finalists with you this morning. We have a couple that are in person and a couple that are also on WebEx, and then we have one video from an artist who is unavailable to attend in person or on WebEx. So I'm going to hand it over to Catherine Forsyth from the Last Projects, who's going to lead us in our finalists.
Hi, Commissioners. Good morning. Great to see you all. My name's Catherine Forsyth. I'm here with Last Projects. We're working with the City of Glendale to deliver multiple art installations. As most of you know, today we are going to be looking at the Patterson Avenue and 134 tunnel located adjacent to Fremont Park. I have a small note to make about this tunnel, and then I will remind everyone of our goal for the meeting today. So all 5 artists did a great job of using what was given to them to come up with these concepts. I just want to note that we are still in the process of getting actual tunnel and lighting plans from Public Works, Caltrans, and I think there's a few other departments involved. So if you have any technical questions, I think they can answer as far as from their prior experience with similar projects, but about this specific tunnel, they may not be able to answer specifics, just to let you all know. And our goal for the meeting today is to land on a primary artist that we'd like to move forward with, and then an alternative artist. All right, and our first artist to present is local artists Lachlan Turchin and Monroe Eisenberg.
Just as a quick reminder to the artists, we have 10 minutes per presentation, so if we will give you a 2-minute heads up to give you a time, and then we have questions from the commission.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. We're really thrilled to be sharing our vision for what we can bring to this tunnel and hopefully create a public landmark for the Glendale area. Yeah, do you want to?
Yeah, I just want to echo our gratitude for being here, seeing all the public programming, that we just talked about and saw. It really excites me. I'm like jittery just being up here, and just really excited to present our ideas to you and this, wonderful team that I'm a part of. So thank you. I'll let Lachlan kind of tell you about his work. I'll tell you about my work. Then we'll go over the kind of idea about the piece. And then we'll go into kind of the specifics, the experience of the work, and then Kevin, the engineer on our team, will be going through like how this is going to work. So Lachlan, you can chat.
So if you wouldn't mind quickly, so Kevin and I have an art studio, and we actually met while working at Wet Design, which is a company that we worked on the Americana fountain here in Glendale. I worked as a water choreographer, and Kevin engineered many of the devices that enable that fountain to operate. I did lots of Frank Sinatra songs on this wonderful fountain. If you want to go to the next slide, we are currently working on a water reclamation facility in Ventura. So just kind of letting you know some of the work that we do is oftentimes centered around water, but also light is an integral part of our practice. And public works is certainly something that's near and dear to my heart and the kind of work that I'd like to make. And then here's just a quick example of some of the work that we've been developing on the side, this integration of light within pools of water and also within the landscape. So the idea that art can be something that is accessible to everybody at any time and not necessarily just within a gallery context.
Yeah, thanks, Lachlan. My name's Monroe. We kind of align on how we approach artwork. I'm really interested in exploring alternative spaces for work and artwork and engaging public in that way. So this work is called Harbinger. It's part of Pacific Standard Time. It's shown and exhibited at Museum Art and History. We can just go through some of these. I just want to give you an example of some of my work. So exploring how life can be inherent within materials through exploring light and changing perception, exploring Earth-human connections. So thinking about this tunnel and thinking about our experience as people in Glendale, I live here, going to move actually very soon, so I'm sad to leave, but I just live down on Glen Oaks, and I often visited the Verdugo Mountains and the public parks and experienced all the art and places here that make Glendale special. And so these areas, you can go next slide. These areas are a reprieve. They're a place to really connect to land and place, and they serve as kind of conduits or bridges to the landscape that's situated really closely to the city. So we're really thinking about this tunnel as a type of kind of portal that directs us to the north to the mountains in Fremont Park and then away south to the city. So we're really thinking about this directionality to this land or to this connection. And so, so basically we're thinking about this linear perspective. I was kind of looking at these historic photos online and started to make these connections between this linear perspective of the tunnel and the linear perspective of this trolley car that really brought people to the mountains, through the city, and then away from it. So that's kind of where we began. And we really wanted to, most importantly, be able to extend support and contribute to what Glendale has to offer in terms of public programming, the park services, everything that makes this city special. So we really wanted to create a place that supports this idea that Glendale is like the jewel of the sun. And so you'll see that in our work, you can kind of see a reference to this idea of a jewel from another perspective. So we'll get into this idea soon, but I really want to kind of dive into this idea that the tunnel is a type of portal to this place to the north, to Fremont Park, but also to the Verdugo Mountains. And then when you go south, it's kind of a portal away. So it creates a zone of interest, and it functions in a safe way as well too. It lights up the tunnel, kind of navigates those the project goals. So I'll hand it off to Lachlan.
Yeah, so presented here are a couple photographs of a quick mock-up that we actually enacted in the tunnel. So I brought a small projector and was able to start to experiment with the space. So what we have landed on for our proposal is this idea of a series of concentric circles. In fact, you actually step back really quickly on just one slide. So what Monroe was talking about, this idea of vantage point. So when you're standing outside of the tunnel, our proposal is that you would see a series of concentric circles that look perfectly, geometrically correct. And then if you kind of walk through some of those next slides, so that perfectly concentric circles start to distend and expand as you walk down, and you realize that they're all actually anamorphic projections. So if you keep going, you see here that what appeared to be perfect circles are actually now, as you are inside of the tunnel, these kind of like rose petal shapes, these like really gentle curves that are not actually perfectly circular. They're actually basically projected on the length of the tunnel, and so appear to be, from one specific vantage point, to have this kind of correct geometry. And then from the other side, you get this really wonderful star pattern, and that's where we really felt that that earlier quote by Edward Emery about Glendale kind of glistening like a jewel in the sun from like 1906. So this like historical thinking about Glendale as this place of light, this like glittering jewel. I think that we really were excited about this idea of kind of being able to symbolically represent that through this kind of perceptual artwork that is sort of varying and different depending on which direction you're looking at the tunnel. So here is from a really long throw. You can sort of see how instead of seeing a circle, you're seeing these kind of distended, kind of pointy shapes on those corners. Here are some amazing renders that actually Kevin created that sort of show the walkthrough experience of what each perspective will offer. And I think that kind of demonstrates how we've been really thinking about this artwork and this project as both something that, you know, we're experimenting on site and like getting to know the place, speaking with the public who would walk through the tunnel as we were shining these lights and like, what's going on here? And being able to kind of share that with them, and they seemed really excited about it. And then also bringing that into computer, you know, and designing it really carefully with all of that in mind, that this is going to be something that's going to really reward, you know, an individual person and give them the autonomy to kind of control the experience, kind of walk back and forth and explore these kinds of perceptual experiences. We have some references of how this has been explored in other kind of fine art contexts. Here's a little wire sculpture that is from one perspective a circle and from the other perspective a square, so kind of showcasing this idea of, yeah, an anamorphic projection again.
It's a 2-minute warning.
Okay, I'll go really quickly, sorry. Maybe we'll skip this slide. In art history, this is a kind of a common theme. These are the Holbein brothers from the Flemish Renaissance. You'll see down there on the floor is a skull, and so when this painting was hung from a very specific vantage point, kind of up the stairs, you're obliquely looking at it, and it is a skull from that one perspective, and then when you're looking at it straight on, it becomes this kind of abstract, distended image on the floor. So this idea of, yeah, again, honoring the perspective, really kind of giving the autonomy and the agency to the public and allowing them to have control of their experience. We did a really quick choreography study. This was thinking about some ways that we can have like colorful light sweeping patterns moving through the space. It, for me, is coming from the background of choreographing water fountains, is going to be a really wonderful canvas for us to explore all these different ways of creating, you know, really wonderful sequences of light choreography within this tunnel that are not only going to be beautiful and calming and relaxing, but also provide enough light to see by. Yeah, if you, maybe we'll get into more of the technical stuff. Yeah.
So we can keep going.
You sort of have to click a couple times to get through there. So yeah, you see those, and then if you go again, to the next slide, you sort of see some of these star patterns. I was just having a lot of fun thinking about and dreaming about how this could become a really kind of beautiful experiential artwork.
And it would never be flashing, so we're very conscious of safety and all of that. So it would always be, you know, slow-moving light. Here's some of the fulfillment of the project goals, but I want to move on to Kevin here.
Yeah, 20 seconds left. So basically, we really want to do this from a practical sense, make sure that there's plenty of light. In this space, it's about 40 lumens per square foot. We have the ability to create 200 lumens per square foot, so both during the day and the night, we're going to be able to provide plenty of light throughout the tunnel while providing this beautiful choreographed design. And the rest is a little bit technical stuff that we can get into with questions.
We're at time.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to start with some questions that the commissioners may have, and Commissioner Yank, you will go first.
Yeah, I guess a question is, thank you very much, first of all, for your presentation, really thought through. I'm curious about so to have it correct, is it projected light?
Yeah, let me go, if you don't mind, just skipping ahead a slide here. Basically, it's actually an LED channel. These are used very commonly, and so they're a ubiquitous thing that's off the shelf. We would actually sack the tunnel with a thin layer of concrete to be able to put those channels in. And so it would just be LED, low power, high efficiency light that would illuminate the tunnel.
Got it. And the more like atmospheric light that we saw in the animation, is that also coming from these LED strip sources or from other sources?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, exactly. They're all individually controllable LEDs. So basically, we have the ability to choreograph the entire tunnel with multicolored light, and it's capable of producing a lot of light throughout the tunnel. However, we can also back that down during different times of day if it's too bright, too dim, that type of thing.
My other question was just, sorry, I just have two more. Would there be any music? Because I did the sort of
Pretty nice,
choreography
wasn't
with
it?
the music was kind of nice. I'm just curious if that was like something that you are working into the plans at all.
Not currently. That was a bit of artistic license to kind of make a nice, choreographed sequence too. It's oftentimes nice to work to music. I think that as just a visual piece, like a piece of visual music, I think it stands on its own. But that's certainly something, if you guys feel it's really necessary to include that, I think that we could definitely think about how that would be done.
And I guess my final question is just around maintenance, just, the programming and kind of, is this something that is possible for the city to maintain years into the future without any specialized knowledge, or would it be like bringing you all back in to kind of reprogram stuff? I'm curious about like what that method is going to look like.
Yeah, so like I said, these are kind of off-the-shelf channels and things that we can, that are easily maintained, but yet don't allow the public to either tamper with or otherwise inhibit their function. So, with a very simple set of instructions, the lights could be replaced, if there was any damage because of, whatever reason, all the pieces are interchangeable and able to be replaced. Also, the LEDs are 50,000 hour LEDs, which means with a 50% duty cycle, that's like a 10-year life before they even might start to fail.
And they'll be made in components too, right?
Yeah.
So they can, if a certain section might fail, then we can replace just a section of the piece.
Got it. Thank you. That's all for now.
Okay, Commissioner Zadoran.
Yes, so she asked a few of the questions that I want to ask, but one of them is, will you be utilizing that outdoor area, and will you be painting the walls? Is there going to be any color? Is it just going to be concrete?
So we'll keep the concrete, well, actually, no. So it will be sacked, which is a process of adding a small amount of concrete to what's existing. So we'll be laying the channels and then adding some additional concrete to make that a really flush, even surface. And my hope with it is that it would be a kind of a consistent color that you pointed out, that the lights seem to like really emanate and fill with atmosphere. And that's something that I think is really important to consider with the treatment of that concrete surface. I think like a nice even color that allows the light to reverberate and kind of resonate within the space. And I think for the outside as well, we were thinking of having some of those LED strips kind of continue out to the kind of the funnel that is sort of on the outside of the tunnel.
Yeah, to really create that invitation into the piece, so you can see it from far away. When we did mock this up, I don't know if we were clear about that, but we went there, and this isn't just a rendering that we were showing you. This was mocked up. We had people from blocks away. They were like, "What is that?" It was like drawing people into the tunnel. So it was really actually working when we were doing this ephemeral installation. And then, just to mirror or echo what Lachlan is saying about this idea of the light becoming the ambiance, or the light becoming the paint. The light becomes the color, and it fills that space. So we could play with like paint and color theory in that way if we really wanted to, where we're really changing our perception of light and color. But the light can do it on its own. But I think we really think about this as a co-creation with the city too. Like we're really interested in thinking about this collaboratively. And so if there's ideas that you're really interested in exploring, we're happy to try and figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that as a commission, we've discussed having that outdoor area definitely utilized because like you're saying, it's going to invite people in. People are going to notice and be like, what is that? And
Yeah.
move towards it.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of music. I also was thinking that just because you said you've worked on the Americana, I know that you're capable of it. I don't want to copy obviously what was done, but the concept of like low music, because we are in a residential area, of course. There is a park there, which is nice. So there's kids yelling and playing. But it's something where you hear and it's like, where is that coming from? But low enough where, it's not bothering people. And if there's some sort of sequence, I know you said that those patterns kind of change. Is there going to be some sort of sequence like, I keep going back to Americana, but every hour there's some kind of like big show that people are looking for?
Yeah, that's one of the things with thinking about it as kind of a stage or a canvas for these different happenings to unfold. I think that's one of the great things about that found at the Americana is that you have these kind of nexus moments, these kind of show-stopping moments where the whole community stops and kind of looks. So my hope with this is that this would become a dynamic, choreographable thing that would potentially, we could, program to have hourly shows, and maybe people would come and experience the tunnel, become a kind of a beacon and a community center for people to take this really kind of pass-through space that you may not really consider and want to spend time in, and make it that kind of attraction for Glendale.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kazorian.
It's to Commissioner Tufenkian.
Oh, sorry, I missed you.
I think they covered pretty much all my questions. My only concern would be during the daytime. Would it be as effective? It probably would be more effective in the dark, but
one of the things, and it's actually highlighted on this slide, is again, in this room here, we have about probably 40 lumens per square foot is what this is lit by. We would have the capability of 200, so 5x what this room is able to actually produce. So during the day, particularly being there during the day, we saw that it is pretty dark in that tunnel, even as is. And so, it would be very, very well illuminated, and I see no issue with the effects still being visible during the day. Plus, it's just going to provide more safety for the community, both during the day and the evening, as well as draw people in.
thank you.
That's a great
Thank you,
question. We were
Commissioner
concerned about that
Tufenkian.
too. Yeah, but going there and doing the mock-up, we were pleasantly surprised.
One more question, actually. And how far apart would these rings be, or the lights be from each other?
In the designs that I did, they were about, I think, 25 feet, but we realized that was a little bit too dense. In fact, the power and the lighting would be just insane. So we're probably going to double that to about 50, but they actually overlap each other so that they can get this kind of continuous lighting effect. It's not quite linear, but you do have these long-running channels. It's something like 2,000 feet of continuous light in the tunnel.
Thank you, Commissioner Tufenkian. I apologize for skipping over you. Commissioner Kazorian.
I had a quick question. Is this going to be on 24 hours out of the day? Because my concern is, kids, young teens, they like to go, and especially it's a tunnel, and, there has to be some type of security just to make sure that, there's, the young teenagers are not doing, it's a place where they want to go, and obviously it seems like it's a fun place because it's lit up and all that, but also it runs a risk of attracting, certain type of crowds. So that's something to think about.
Yeah, I think our intention was for it to be completely operable 24/7, just to, again, provide the kind of base light requirements for the egress of that space. As it is, I think the space is a little bit daunting and maybe a little scary. I think there's not currently enough light in the space, and so I think that for us, it's just kind of imbuing it with an aesthetic and an artful touch, along with, again, these concerns about being able to pass through and feel safe and comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to go there late at night. So if people are going there late at night to pass through this tunnel, because they might have to get to the other side, you're working late, you want to feel safe, right? And I think that was also part of the call, where we really want to make sure that this is a lit area that people feel comfortable going through and not going into this dark tunnel. I mean, I've gone through it many times, and I'm like, oh, everybody's you know?
Yeah.
So that the light activation, the sound, I mean, these things have effects on people perceptually, and you know, with the music, we were like, I feel calm, you know, so.
One thing I will add is just for maybe you're hinting at vandalism or something like that, that these are going to try to be designed just so that they have high impact polycarbonate. So it's going to be very hard to actually damage. And if there is damage, it's going to be, you know, very serviceable and easy to replace if necessary.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Achian.
Yeah, I think this, the idea of it being a portal is really nice. I think a lot of kids will enjoy it. The only thing, like Commissioner Tufenkian said, how far spaced are they? So, like, it's not as overwhelming and hypnotizing. So is that, like, are they too far apart? Are they super close and might be distracting, or?
Yeah, something that's really helpful with the renders is just to be able to see that early on and, you know, before this thing's installed and have that exact problem. So seeing those renders, we actually dialed it back from what we actually mocked up, because with our mock-up, we were only using a 7.5 watt projector. It was not a very powerful projector. And so we added more rings to provide more light, but then when I did the renders and looked at, you know, what the actual light output was going to be, it was, as I said, it was way too overwhelming, and so we did dial that back already.
Yeah, and it would also, I think, depend on the site plans that we'll receive in terms of what we can do with it, with the capability of everything.
Okay. Done? Okay. Thanks. Well, thank you, fellow commissioners, for making it easy on me, since all the questions have been. I do have a few questions about the piece and a comment. My first comment is that I really appreciate the fact that you're interested in drawing people in, because those vast walls on both sides, the park side and the apartment building side, you know, to leave those blank and to put art in the tunnel, I think would be a grave mistake, and it almost must be included. Did a site visit there yesterday and just looked around at everything, walked through the tunnel, and yes, I think during the day and evening, it certainly could be appropriately lit and help people get through it. Regarding your design, you know, it's complicated, and I couldn't quite understand, you know, obviously this is going to be changing shape. The light is going to create different impressions, and as you walk through, assuming that because it is a long tunnel, people aren't going to want to tarry and, you know, get a glass of wine and have conversations in there. It's, you know, that is one long tunnel. And as they're walking straight through, their perception of the art is going to change as they go. And what kind of effect would that have on people in terms of, you know, the trompe-l'oeil effect of suddenly you're not, you know, like you're stepping on something or things are closing in on you? How do you plan to have an effect on the people that walk through it? I'm a little interested in an elaboration on that.
Yeah, so the trompe-l'oeil effect, where you sort of perceive there to be depth where there is no depth.
Something happening, yeah.
So this is the idea that your perception will sort of shift as this is going to be really tied to geometry. So it's going to be, you know, you stand somewhere and you see something as what you perceive it to be, kind of a flat circle, and then that kind of unfolds as you walk through it, and it reveals itself to be a little more complicated and actually quite, I think, elegant. These like kind of like flower petal shapes that we were showing kind of as you're like halfway through the tunnel. When we talk about perception, I think it's dealing with this kind of flipping geometry on its head, rather than saying, you know, oh, you think that there's like a you know, a hole in the floor where there's no hole in the floor. I think that it'll be well lit enough and kind of self-revealing throughout every step. I don't think that there'll be much kind of illusionistic tricks or any guises in any
Right,
way. It's all
okay.
going to be very,
So it's a light show, and the walls and the ceiling and the floor will remain in people's perception as the tunnel.
absolutely. And I think to that point, like allowing the light to really reverberate through the space with, I think, really even paint on the walls so that we have the kind of infinite ability to color, like create whatever color we would like using light as the primary medium. So I think it will, you won't ever have that feeling of like, oh no, where am I sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. Okay, and then some of it looks monochromatic, and some of your pictures look colorful. So it's all the same program, and at times it's going to appear monochromatic, and at other times it's going to appear colorful as you walk through.
Yeah, so the LEDs that Kevin has spec'd, they are, not only do they provide enough lumens, but they're individually addressable. So that means that, when we first went there, we just kind of were projecting just the pure shapes on what we, thinking about how the form of it would take. And then it became this, like, just a really fun, for me, to begin to start to use that base shape as the kind of the framework for then doing these different patterns. So because they're individually addressable, we can have, a little, bit of light moving across, each one of those arcs that make the circles. And so I experimented with these like really soft gradient sweeps. You could have, one end of the tunnel start as red and then the one closer to you being blue, and you can have that kind of slowly, I think, really gently move through the space. I think that was one thing we were really mindful was making sure that it never at any point felt like too stroby or too kind of harsh on the eyes. The idea being that it relaxes you and calms you in a space that could be kind of overwhelming. Yeah, thank you for pulling those up. And also, like, the sunsets. I think that's something that we in Southern California have, these like wonderful skies that the most brilliant colors kind of play out overhead all the time. And I think that was one of the things I was thinking about, is these like really rich, vibrant twilight skies.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to be clear on it's a very narrow tunnel too for its length, and that you wouldn't have to weave or change your position to get the full effect, that you could make a straight walking line right through, connecting the two dots and see the full effect of the art piece. And you are willing to do something on the walls leading into and out of the tunnel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll add to that kind of overarching first kind of impression of there being all those circles, is using the kind of funneling that brings you in.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
One more
Yeah,
quick
go
question. During installation, how long will the tunnel be out of commission?
Good question.
We reached out to one a construction company basically to get some general quotes. That's actually the last slide that we haven't covered, because we did want to make sure that what we were proposing was in budget and still left enough headroom for everything. So the sacking of that concrete was quoted about $45,000. We didn't get a necessary lead time, but sacking and that type of thing is a pretty short process. I'd love to say that it's only a few weeks, but in reality, how construction works, it'd probably be upwards of the month to actually complete.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have one more thing that came up. Something that we should be concerned about with other projects as well. I think it'd be best if we did add a warning or notice to people on both sides if they are going to enter, for those that are at risk with epilepsy or have any kind of certain disabilities, just to limit liability for the city. So I think that would be a good idea for this one, as well as any future light shows, especially in an area that's small and they have to cross through that tunnel to get to the other side. But I think that would be okay with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We oftentimes include a photosensitivity warning for some of our works that are a little bit more stroboscopic. There's more like a rapid changes between brightness and dark. But again, like the art, we will be incredibly sensitive, and I think that there are standards for how that can be done. So we'd definitely be abiding by all of those kind of public. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and if nobody has any other questions, we'll just wrap it up. And thank you very much for your presentation. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for letting us be here. It's really nice to see students also involved in this. I'm a professor of sculpture. I run the sculpture program at Costa Mesa Community College, and I'm also founded and running the Art and Public Spaces program on the campus. So I'm also on that side a little bit. I'm learning. It's my second year of doing it, so it's really fun to see, you know, a diverse experience on a panel like this. So thank you for, you know, listening and your questions, and we're just really excited about the opportunity. So thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I just want to be mindful of time. We do have 4 more presentations, so if we can make our questions concise. I know it's an interesting project, but
Yeah, we need to move it along, obviously.
Next, we have Caroline Marks. She will be presenting on behalf of her and Akiko Yamashita.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Chairperson and Commissioners. We've been so excited to share this project with you. My partner, Akiko, cannot be here. She just flew in from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, this weekend for an event there, and then she went straight to Ohio for a Light It Festival. So busy with a lot of projects, but I'm here to show what we've created. So I am a multimedia artist and animator. I have a degree in art practice from Stanford and motion graphics degree from Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. And I've shown work in museums such as LACMA and Library of Congress. And Akiko is also multimedia lighting and projection artist as well. And she's worked with Catherine previously on a Labas project. So we've created 4 different concepts we'd love to share with you. They all are individually addressable depending on needs and color preferences. And we've consulted with Standard Vision on the feasibility and cost expense and technical operations. So the first one's called Gateway. We wanted to work with the form and shape of the tunnel to create kind of a welcoming archway shape that resonates as you walk through, and it has a very calming effect on the viewer. When we were walking through the tunnel, it is a little creepy and scary, so something that would kind of feel like calming and just mellow, and it definitely needs light day and night when you're walking through, so it felt like a nice approach. So there's 3 options for this one. It has a continuous wall to ceiling to next wall. And then the next one is just wall, and that creates an optical illusion with the floor and the ceiling of a box shape. And then the final one is disconnected wall and ceiling separated, and the animation can be very adaptable based on preference. And we have an animation. I don't know if it... Okay. Yeah, so it creates kind of this nice like optical illusion with the continuing arches. And these would be LED strips from Standard Vision. So the next one is called Sunbeam, and it's inspired by the usually sunny Glendale sun, which 73% of the time is sunny in the city. And we wanted to have kind of a welcoming, cheery effect on this tunnel. So it would be 4 strips, 2 on the walls, 2 on the ceiling, in alternating patterns, in different blocks of color that would cast a glow on the viewer as they walk through. And these colors, yeah, we have another animation. So they can be a color scheme based on holiday or a flag, depending on the occasion, and that's all programmable and adaptable. And then the third one is called XX. So these are 4 identical shaped strips, and placed together they create an optical illusion of an X that as you walk through creates this kind of glowy shape. And the render doesn't necessarily reflect the actual lighting amount, but ultimately we want it to feel like the warmest towards the center of the tunnel. And there's also an animation. And our fourth and final one is called Suzuku, and that means to be continued in Japanese. So as you can see, it's one continuous strip of light that goes in an alternating pattern in the arches down to the end. And it guides the viewer into a new beginning from towards the light at the end of the tunnel. And this can have many different color variations as well. And so just to show you how this would look in reality, Aki worked with Catherine last year for a permanent installation at the West Edge building in West LA. So it's a similar idea of using these LED strips to create like a really warm glow. And they change based on the time of day and the season of the year. And it's a very cool effect. And you can see it from the street and it looks really, warm and fun. And so for myself, last year, I created a programmed projection mapped light show for Entity Contemporary Dance, all custom to the sections of the dance. You can go to the next slide. With different animations. And this would be the same program we would be using to create this tunnel, just to show you the capabilities of the program. And then Aki has also created a portal tunnel in the Weller Court in Little Tokyo. That's a popular destination for tourists to take pictures because it makes you look cool. So. And it's received a few awards, and it still stands today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yang, questions, comments?
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm curious a little bit about the securing of the strips. They did seem to kind of come off of the wall, so how are you imagining that those would be secured and kept safe over time for people who might want to pry away at them?
Always a challenge with public artwork.
Yeah.
We talked with Standard Vision about that, and we had a lot of different concepts before, and we worked out that these would be the most secure ways, especially with on the ceiling, and they would be bolted in, and there actually is an option where they can be, I believe, inserted into the wall, so it would be a flat, you wouldn't be able to yank it off.
Right.
Yeah. But Standard Vision is the professionals in this scenario, so they have the technical and maintenance acuity that they could provide.
Great. And then I was wondering if you were planning on doing any wall treatment, to enhance the light, or if there's any kind of repainting or remapping of the actual surface of the wall.
We can look at that more as time goes on, and it will be sort of a testing thing as things come up. But yeah, for sure, we can make it look as beautiful as we can.
And then my last question was just, I was compelled by the idea of the shifting patterns or the shifting light during the time of the day or the seasons. Have you thought about how you might think about the different types of light shifting patterns that you would implement for these different designs?
For sure. I mean, it's kind of sky's the limit. But I really love the idea of, making special cases like they do with the Statue of Liberty for different events of the year, different flag colors, different light patterns. The program is very amenable to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
She asked all my questions, so in the interest of time, we can move forward. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Tufenkian?
I think she asked all my questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to drag it out.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Ask whatever you want. Commissioner Kazorian?
I think they answered all my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Atkin?
I just had one question. Some of your photos looked a little bit dark. I was wondering how much light are they emitting? Will it be enough light for people to see where they're going?
Yeah, I think so. Are you talking about the renders or the photos?
So like in this photo specifically, like,
Okay.
is the light light enough in that sense?
So yeah, that's just a computer render. It doesn't reflect like necessarily
Yeah.
the full output, but I believe it's just dependent on the lumens of the LEDs within the light. So yeah, I mean, we'll for sure make sure you can like see
Yeah.
as you're walking through.
Got it. Thank you.
That's the ultimate goal. Yeah, to feel safe and secure in the tunnel. I did some on-the-ground research at the tunnel and talked to the men playing backgammon and just the locals in the area, and they told me it's actually the safest. Glendale's one of the 10 safest cities in America, which is awesome.
Very proud of that.
Yes, we are. Thank you. So in this piece, are you, there are two long lead tunnels going into and out of, or not tunnels, walls, blank walls. Is there any way that your art can be extended outside the tunnel to kind of invite people in?
Absolutely, yeah. We just focused on the inner part because that was sort of the simplest to present and model at this moment. But we were speaking there's opportunities for landscaping and the outer portions to be added on as well. Just as long as it fits in the budget, we can.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. On to the next. What is our time? When does the meeting have to end?
Meeting does not have to end at a certain time, but we have it held till 12 o'clock.
Oh, okay. So 12 o'clock that's when it has to end.
Ideally.
Okay. All right, we'll keep that in mind, but feel free to ask any questions. We'll just try not to replicate questions. Next artist.
Okay, our next artist will be presenting via WebEx. I have Marnie on the WebEx line for the artist team Poetic Kinetics.
And Patrick Schern as well.
Oh, sorry, Patrick, and Patrick Schern as well.
That's okay, it's okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to present. It's a really fun project. It's an interesting challenge to create something unique and different in such a sort of constrained and understood environment. But we really took it on, and we have a fun presentation that I think is a little different, and I think would really create a lot of interest and safety and invitation, and make the place really much more of a portal and a passageway through, while utilizing the sort of local community and the local atmosphere. I'm sorry, my screen went completely dark, so I have no idea if I'm connected.
You are, Patrick, we see you. Oh wait, actually, are we coming in clearly?
Yes, you're fine on our end. So can you not see the presentation?
Patrick, are you seeing the presentation?
No, we should be. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. At this point, we don't see the presentation up if it is. Oh, there we go. Patrick, do you see that?
Yeah, apologies. WebEx kicked me out. I was on hold for 2.
Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
seeing you doubled. Sorry.
Okay. But you see the presentation. That's what matters, correct?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, awesome. So for some reason I have a double echo in my world, and I'm just going to keep going. So here we have this tunnel. I'm going to start by saying that we would want to paint the entire interior with a gloss white garage epoxy paint, so that it would be very durable, easy to clean, low maintenance surface that would really allow for the light to play on the surface. So we're very interested in nature as a studio, and these are sort of evocative of light beams that you might find in God rays as the sun peeks through clouds in an atmospheric way. So what we're doing is throwing beams around in this tunnel, in this space.
Our inspiration was to bring the light into this otherwise sort of dark area. And we wanted to recreate a sense of the sun shining in the tunnel. So these beams of light were a big inspiration to us, and an opportunity to bring cheer and the warmth of the sun into this interior.
Yep. So we understand that there's a park nearby, and we're really interested in incorporating sort of some of the local sounds, the bird sounds, tree sounds, but also the children playing. And so the idea here is that as you walk through this tunnel, there would be motion sensors and proximity sensors that would trigger sound and coloring light, the color light change through the tunnel. And so we would be recording the sounds of the park at one end and sort of amplifying that to mask the traffic sounds overhead as well. There's also an opportunity to present, to incorporate music and local influences. The idea is that the sound system would be easily reprogrammed, like with the thumb drive. Just put it in a different thumb drive, and you'd be able to incorporate local community engagement opportunities as well.
Yeah, this is a huge part of our concept for this tunnel. We really wanted this to be a multi-sensory experience that was very atmospheric and soft. One of the important parts of this sensual experience is the soundscape. And we also see this as an opportunity to collaborate with composers that are Glendale based, so that the community can really put its own fingerprint on this work, and so that the work is really situated with a clear sense of belonging. It's very of and by the community. And as Patrick mentioned, we're also interested in incorporating some found sound from the from the exterior. The park that is adjacent to this tunnel is a place where we might capture that. But essentially, this is a part of not only making this experience feel transportive, but also increasing its accessibility as well, so that people with different abilities can experience something special and unique in this space as they move through the passageway.
Really? So much the same. Yeah. This tube design. What's going on here is we wanted to make this as simple as possible, utilizing the existing electrical system that's in place, and not have to do a bunch more work there. So what we've got is these steel tubes that have these speaker systems and LED spotlight projection system in it that shoots a light down the center of the tube, that is then broken up and bisected by mirror polished stainless steel segments that are welded to the sides, and that would hit those mirrors and send beams in across to the opposite side of the walls. So there's a series of these tubes running the entire length, top and left and right on the center line, on the ceiling edge, using the existing electrical system, and that would create these beams of light that you'd be able to walk through as you pass through the tunnel. Next. This is a detail of it. This is standard sort of powder-coated steel like you might find in any public playground. It's very durable, and this is an extremely low maintenance project. It's all sort of standard industrial, standard commercial, standard public use stuff. The LEDs have, years long lifespan. The speaker is protected by a steel mesh, but is accessible with a maintenance system. And then these are, swappable entire units. So the entire length of the tunnel, both left and right along the ceiling edge, is using these. And we would also extend them out onto the exterior, so we would capture the same beam light on the entranceways walls as well.
Yeah, just to highlight as well the durability there, since we've heard this in some of the questions already, all of the mechanisms of the system are encased in steel, essentially, well out of reach. So this is a very durable, low maintenance approach that we tried to take here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this speaks to the mirror polished steel as opposed to glass or plastics. It's as reflective, but it's much more durable, and allows us to weld these mirror components inside the tubes so that they're completely undamageable.
You have 2 minutes
The
remaining.
spotlights. I'm sorry?
You have 2 minutes remaining, just to let you know.
Oh, great. Perfect. So these spotlights are narrow beam focused spotlights. So there's not a lot of wash. They're very focused so that we capture these beams. So as the beam crosses the tunnel, it's a beam, but then it hits the white wall, becomes a spot on the wall, and then ambient light from there creates a much more full ambient imagery. Next.
Can we proceed to the installation layout slide?
Yeah, let's go.
Page 17.
All right, so here you go. You see the length of the tube. We have length of the tunnel. We have a series of these tubes that are throwing beams all around, both left and right. So as you walked through, you would be illuminated by these beams, but also the beams would create an ambient light in the tunnel that would always be fully bright and safe.
Let's proceed. And I'd like to also highlight that the light experience as well as the soundscape are triggered by motion sensors. So there is an encouragement of the viewer or the participant, as we like to think of them, to move through this space. So while this is an art installation and absolutely something to sort of pause and thoughtfully behold, there's an encouragement also to activate this piece by moving through the space, and that way we don't prevent egress in this active thoroughfare as well.
Yeah, so for example, as you walk through, you might change the color. So you might be, in this case, pink, walking through the entire length of the thing. So the lights would change color as you progressed through the piece.
Can we proceed to a little bit about us? I'll just give us a broad overview. Slide 24. So I'm co-presenting here with Patrick Schurn. Patrick founded the studio Poetic Kinetics in 2008. The first project that we did was at the Beijing Olympics. We have since, you can proceed, please. We have since brought, over 24 installations to different locations around the world. This piece we brought to Hong Kong's Victoria Bay as part of a signature series of textile artworks that we call a Skynet series. Next slide, please. This installation was called Visions in Motion. We were selected to be the representative artist to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. And this piece was exhibited at the Brandenburg Gate in 2019. It's a 20,000 square foot kinetic installation, and it was visited by over 1 million people at the festival. Next slide, please.
Thank you so much. You're at time.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. And we'll take some questions now from the commission. Commissioner Yang.
Hi, thank you so much for this presentation. Just a couple of questions. The gloss white paint on the walls and the floor, I hear what you're saying about it being low maintenance, but I do worry about that. And you know, I guess that's more of a comment just to consider in terms of how that gets scuffed up over time. I don't know if you want to elaborate that.
Yeah, so this is a commercial grade, like you might find it on a floor in a in an industrial space where there's like a factory machinery going on, where they really want to keep the floor clean. You might find it in like a commercial restaurant space or a commercial warehouse space, so that it protects the floor. But it's absolutely designed to be pressure washed and creates a contiguous surface over the wall to the floor to the everything, and so it really can handle heavy use vehicle traffic, that kind of thing. It's industrial grade.
Okay, thank you. And then just a question of clarification around the motion sensor feature. Does that mean that it would be dark when nobody was walking through it?
No, there would always be beams of light, but as you pass through, both the sound system and the illumination system could be triggered to create a sense of interactivity, so that as you step forward, you might hear more volume of birds and that sort of thing as you travel through, or you might hear laughter from children amplified as you get near the center where the traffic noise might be more disruptive. And then similarly with the light. So it could be a color changing thing or a brightness changing thing. It would never be stroboscopic or anything like that. It would always be sort of a gentle, graceful thing, but you would feel like you had some interactivity. If you backed up or moved forward, you'd be able to affect the atmospheric quality of these beams.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Okay, Commissioner Tufenkian.
So the light is actually activated by the sound in the park. Is there also an audio in the tunnel, or no audio in the tunnel?
No, the audio in the tunnel is us having pre-recorded sounds from the park. So we would be able to bring the atmosphere from both sides of the tunnel deeper into the tunnel to both mask the traffic noise that's inherent from the roadway above, but also to just sort of connect you to the communities on both ends.
Yeah, we envision a musical composition that sources some of the sounds of Glendale. But yes, the sound component is definitely an important part of the sensory experience of the installation, and it reacts to the visitor just as the lightscape does.
Thank you. I feel like it looks very fun and safe and warm, so I think it would be very fun to walk through that. A couple of other questions. Will the beams shine in people who are walking by?
I'm sorry, shine?
Would it shine in their eyes?
Well, it's up overhead, much like any sort of illumination might be in the tunnel already. If you looked up into that beam, you would look up into the light source, but it's not blinding in any way.
Okay, and last question is, the cutouts in the tubes, are those open cutouts, or is there glass over it?
Currently they're open, but we could put a polycarbonate tube on the inside to prevent anybody being able to reach inside.
All right.
That makes sense.
Thank you, Commissioner Kazorian.
Commissioner Zadorian. We missed Commissioner Zadorian.
Luckily, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm having trouble today.
My questions were all answered. Thank you.
I had a question about the shapes. Would the shapes be, since it is near a park, would they be like stars and or maybe like diamonds, to invite more kids into the space? Or would they just be like ergonomic shapes like that?
Well, I think we're limited by the circular piece of the tube and the circular beam of light. So what we've done is bisect that circular mirror essentially, and then brought the sections forward and back in the tube. So I don't think there's a lot of opportunity to create shapes because we would lose some portion of the mirror, in the cutout fallout. So I think we're just really playing with abstract shapes.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry. You have any questions?
No,
You're good?
Over me.
Okay. Everybody's going to get a turn to be ignored, I guess, today. On the simulated sunlight reflections, are those changing or are those stationary and remain the same throughout?
The beams would remain the same throughout. It was the inspiration of sunbeams coming through clouds that sort of got my creative juices flowing, thinking about walking, like when you walk through beams and how that sort of the light play on your bodies. And I think it could be really a fun interactive experience that way.
And same,
If there was any dew or haze in the air, if there was any, atmospheric stuff going on in the air on a particular day, fog or whatever, that would create more of a beam effect than otherwise.
right.
That said, also just to clarify, these are LED spotlights, and in the same way that we've seen in other presentations that utilize this technology, they're all programmable. They can shift color. We can dial in on very specific color palettes. Can change over the course of the day or at different times of year. So not only is there a sort of instantaneous reaction, but there's also this this gradual programmed changeability that we can work with there.
Okay. So in addition to those, the abstractions moving, the beams do not come down to the floor, right? They don't radiate all the way down. They're dissipating above people's heads.
They could come down to the floor. Yeah, they're basically just sourcing from the tubes and
Right.
going anywhere into the tunnel. The only thing that's actually changing is the quality of the light. The beams are not moving themselves. You're moving through the beams.
Okay,
So there's
so
just
you
a
are moving
plethora
through
of-
them. All right, that was the answer to my question. Commissioner Kazorian.
Is this render, is this how it's actually going to look? How light it is in the tunnel?
I believe so. That's the reason for the gloss white, is so that we could really create enough ambient light to make it always feel inviting and safe and playful. And then the color changing, the colors can always change and be programmed to change, and the interactivity can be programmed to change as well. But we always want to maintain a safe, warm, inviting environment.
Thank you so much.
One more thing, and I've asked this of everybody. Can you extend your artwork out onto the blank walls on either side of the tunnel that enter into and out of the tunnel?
Yes, absolutely. We could place a tube on either side of the exterior entranceway to create light beams that hit the opposite funneling walls as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Last call for questions. All right, thank you very, very much. We appreciate it. Beautiful piece.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Commissioners, I believe we have 2 more presentations. One is with agenda architecture, and then we have Han Ho at the end.
Okay. I think so.
Michael, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. Can you see the presentation?
Not yet.
Okay, let's give it a second.
There we go.
Okay, great. So I'll start your time. You have 10 minutes.
Great. First, we just wanted to thank Labas Projects for selecting our studio for this incredible opportunity. We'd also like to just take a quick moment to thank the Glendale Arts and Culture Commission for making public art and design a priority for the city. We're kind of true believers that the art and architecture can have a meaningful impact on our neighborhoods and communities, and really should be accessible to everyone. So we appreciate what you guys do here in Glendale. Before I jump into the proposal for the tunnel, I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to our practice. As I said, my name is Michael Hargens, and I'm co-founder of Agenda, along with my partner, Tyler Frost. We're a fairly young design studio based in Austin, Texas, and while we're both trained as architects, we're interested in crafting meaningful projects with a particular focus on the public realm. So we're really trying to explore different historical and contextual ideas using a research-based approach to our work. trying to strive to create cohesive ideas and projects that feel tied to a place and fosters engagement with their communities. We have some slides towards the end of the presentation that showcase some of the other work we've done if there's time as we get through this. So if you can stay on this slide, that'd be great. So when we first began thinking about this pedestrian tunnel, we were interested in finding like a singular idea that addressed two distinct issues. One, the divisive nature of highways and their impact on our cities, and the more pragmatic need for essentially a lighting strategy that would provide a sense of security for the community in using the tunnel. And so regarding the first issue, as you can see in these aerial photographs, you don't just see the growth of Glendale into the Vertigo Mountains over the course of 80 years, but also this really strong incision of the 134. The expansion of these interstate highway systems, of course, we all know allowed for greater connectivity between our cities and communities, but the side effects could mean erasure of parts of our city. And in the case of Glendale, it meant that entire blocks and portions of streets such as Fairmont and Patterson Avenues were removed. Next slide. So while this condition is not unique to Glendale and has not always been done with essentially malicious intent, the presence of these highways inevitably disconnects our neighbors and almost always makes traversing these highways and as pedestrians more difficult. And so the tunnel connecting Patterson to Kenilworth has certainly been a solution to help safely mend this breach, but I think we would all argue that the kind of ubiquitous utilitarian concrete structure is kind of disconnected from its place in the community it connects. Next slide. And so our proposal seeks to highlight the imbalance in prioritization of highway infrastructure over neighborhood connectivity. And so in this image, the black line represents Fairmont Avenue, and the small white line off to the right is the pedestrian tunnel, which we're seeking to emphasize in an otherwise massive expanse of concrete highway. And so through the use of light, color, and reflection, the intervention at the center of the existing pedestrian tunnel is essentially intended to symbolize a portion of Fairmont Avenue that was erased during the construction of the 134. So you can go to the next image. So here's the view of that intervention that more or less occurs right where Fairmont would have intersected the existing tunnel prior to the street's removal. And it's intended to be kind of a vestige of Fairmont, represented by that black line from the previous slide. Next slide. So to create this effect, we're proposing to resurface opposing portions of the existing walls with mirrors, just for the central section, which you'll see later. But this nearly sort of infinite reflection creates essentially a spatial illusion, making it appear as if there's like a transverse tunnel running perpendicular to the existing one. Next slide. And so here's a view of the proposed entrance of the pedestrian tunnel at dusk. And so this large arched vocabulary might seem out of place at first glance, but we've sort of drawn inspiration from Glendale itself. Next slide. So we believe that the use of geometry and scale can contribute to the monumentality of a place or a structure. And of course, there are no shortage of such landmarks throughout Glendale's history, as you are all well aware. Next slide. So this is a photograph we took during our site visit, which we have, of course, edited to include our proposed installation. I think what we're trying to show here is that we're attempting to elevate the prominence of the pedestrian tunnel against the backdrop of that overwhelming scale of the 134 by manipulating the entrances to the tunnel. A mirror-clad arch panel creates a secondary illusion, essentially, that stretches the height of the entryway and begins to draw attention to the tunnel. Next slide. And this declaration of place is really like an attempt to, again, re-emphasize the pedestrian connection between these neighborhoods and doing our best to sort of suppress the absolute dominance of the highway infrastructure. And so again, it's really trying to put people above cars. Next one. And then the use of color will allow this installation to present itself differently throughout the day and night. So we really envision the lights to remain white during the day just to help mitigate that contrast between the bright California sun and the subterranean darkness within the tunnel. But at night, we imagine the lights very slowly cycling through these very saturated colors, gently fading from one to another. And we think there's a lot of opportunity here to have an exploration with local communities to talk about how we could program these lights to be special for certain occasions, things like that. Next one. And then within this color change, we're the way we were sort of concepting it is that it would be a gradient from the most saturated colors at the entrances, fading to essentially a white at the center of the tunnel. And the idea here is just that the deepest part of the pedestrian walkway is always as bright as possible to like really instill that sense of safety and security no matter what time of day or night. Next slide. And so these are kind of just a couple of diagrams that help explain the more technical aspects of the installation. After visiting the site, we were able to see that the existing tunnel is constructed out of very like standard looking 19-foot-6 long sections of precast concrete, which I think you'd find just about anywhere. But where those pieces meet, there's essentially these chamfered gaps, which sets up this cadence for the new light fixtures. So we can install the lights within that and then essentially secure them in place and make them flush with what's already there. So in the most basic sense, the proposal is about, re-emphasizing those entrances by building up these sort of archways and then repainting the interior of the tunnel, cladding that middle section with mirrors, and then installing these linear lights throughout the tunnel. Next slide. We did do some photometric studies to test the functionality of the light fixtures. So a lot of this, of course, is overly technical, but I would just point out that the average brightness within the existing scenario based on our simulations is about 3-foot candles, which is a little less than what you'd find in like a covered parking lot. Next slide. But with the new fixtures, the average jumps to about 14-foot candles, which is it's kind of in line with what you might find in like a warehouse storage building. Weirdly, a bedroom is about in that range as well. So that just gives you a sense of how much light is going to be created from these. Next one. And of course, we did put together a preliminary budget, which would need to be refined as the project moved forward. But it was just us trying to be as diligent as we could be. Next one. And so all of that sort of technical information aside, we really believe that this proposal not only provides the community with a safer way to traverse the highway, but it becomes a sort of spectacle that we think has the potential to be a marker for the neighborhood. And as an abstraction, we also think it can serve as a reminder of the past. For those who might be interested that can dig a little deeper and understand that there were once houses where the 134 now stands. It's just a sort of a small acknowledgement that we as a public have agency to affect the way that our cities and neighborhoods come together. And in retrospect, I wish we had ended on this image, but we do have a couple of past projects that we'd like to highlight. So go to the next one.
Michael, you have about 2 minutes.
Perfect. That'll get me through these last couple of images. Next one. Thank you. So this is one of our most recent structures, which is a pavilion completed for the St. John Encampment Commons, which is part of Austin Community College's new campus, which is a former shopping mall of all things. The pavilion essentially acts as a symbol commemorating the African-American encampments of the early 1900s that once occurred on the land at which it sits. You can go to the next one. It's inspired by the curved form of the cloth tents that once housed the thousands of people attending the encampments. And so it's a steel structure, but it sort of lightly drapes across the plaza, providing a place for gathering. And we feel like we're really excited that the State Texas Historical Commission has now bestowed a historical marker on the site. And the next one, and this was just a project we completed with our prior office for the Waller Creek Conservancy here in Austin. It was part of the inaugural Creek Show, which is an annual event that invites artists and architects to create these temporary light installations, really a goal to bring awareness to the redevelopment of this creek and its associated parklands, which runs through downtown Austin. In our case, we placed about 100 of these temporary light poles in the middle of the creek to highlight the grade change over several blocks of downtown. And then last image is just to show that these are studies that we have done over the years, looking at artificial lighting for multiple projects and just trying to show that we're interested in testing how light can really change how people perceive an object or space. And so that I think is all I have. So if you have questions about our proposal or our work, I'd be really happy to answer them. But thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Commissioner Yank.
Thank you very much for that presentation. It was really thorough. So I just have a couple of questions. The first is just maintenance on the mirrors. I don't think I heard what material they would be, and if somebody was going to hit a baseball into one of the mirrors on the park side, what would happen?
Yeah, no, I
maybe you
think
can
that's
elaborate on that.
Yeah, totally fair question. So our initial idea is to use essentially mirror that's made of safety glass. So this is not dissimilar from like, I'd put this on par with like a car window, right? So car windows can take quite a bit of impact before they break, but they can break if they're hit hard enough. I think it would also be worth our time to explore polished stainless steel as well. The issue with that is that, of course, it can be scratched, and once it's scratched and marred, then it no longer has a mirror effect. And so I think part of this is us doing the best we can to make sure it's as safe and vandal resistant as possible, but also, knowing that with any kind of material, I think at the end of the day, somebody who's looking to really do damage can do that. But these would be sections of mirror. I think our renderings probably made it look like these were 20 feet long, but it's probably going to be 3 pieces. Maybe we could get it to 2. So there is a potential for them to be replaced. But I think the short answer is that we want to make it as, vandal resistant and safe as possible within, what materials we can actually use.
Thank you. And then just to clarify, you're planning an arch on both sides of the tunnel? Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
and really, part of that was, it's really about a connection through, right? And so I think our renderings are actually taking the nighttime ones we're taking from the Fairmont Park side, and then the daytime ones, of course, we're taking from the other side. But yeah, we expect these to be dueling mirrors, essentially like connecting that and trying to amplify the size of this. I think that's probably the part that's the most frustrating, is to see that like photograph of the circle and seeing just how massive these highway systems are and how little, we've given over to ourselves.
Thank you.
Commissioner Zadorian,
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Tufenkian.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I really like the reflective arched overhang, and I think that just makes it such a great portal to walk through. So the illusion of having like a perpendicular tunnel would just be in the center of the tunnel, right? Or is it going
Correct.
all along?
No, it's just so I think I'd have to double check. I think there's 11 of these bays or 10 of them. And so it's just the center one, but they are about 19 feet long. So it would be mirror on just that center section.
The remainder, and the remainder of the
remainder
tunnel
would just be painted. Yeah.
would just be painted?
Yeah. I mean, we would love to explore recladding. Like we looked at, techniques where they strip this. This has been built up over time, the kind of texture that's on the tunnel, and we would love to see that scraped away and go back to essentially the raw concrete and have it painted again. But the issue is that like what we were finding is trying to be cognizant of a budget, and so we were really going back and talking to contractors and stuff about the kind of work this is, because it's 260 feet long. It's a lot of square footage. And so we were in the back of our heads, I know what we would love to do is to do more, but we also wanted to be, like I said, cognizant of what the budget actually is. So I think what we're showing, I think, is totally reasonable and doable. And if we could go a little bit above and beyond and do something a little more, I would love to be able to do that.
I'm sorry, so I don't, so the remainder or the first half of the tunnel would be what kind of lighting?
So, sorry, the rings of light go all the way down the tunnel from the very beginning to the very
Okay,
end.
got it.
And every one of those sections as you're walking through is just white until you get to the center section. And that's when it's mirror on the walls and black on the ceiling. And what that does is create that transverse illusion supposed to be representing Fairmont. And then it goes back to being more of those rings of light and white all the way to the other end.
And those rings of light are embedded in the wall?
Yeah, so what's really interesting is I probably should have showed a close-up photograph. The way that these existing concrete, essentially tubes have been put together is there's a gap where the two of them come together that we can insert that LED fixture and have it essentially, for lack of a better term, like structurally glued in place so that they're sort of flush with the tunnel, but like we don't have to do any extra work to make that flush with the tunnel if we use those existing conditions. The only thing we were going to have to propose is cutting out a small strip in the floor, the concrete floor plane, to add a strip of light at each one of those rings. So again, it's trying to work with like the existing conditions and still achieve something we think is pretty beautiful.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kasorian.
I had a question. If it's flush to the wall and the floor, would it be easy to have maintenance on the light fixtures if they had to be replaced?
So these are very similar to, I think, some of the others that have been talked about. There's multiple ways for these fixtures to get attached, but in the way that they're encased. So the long and short of it is essentially like they're hard to pull out, but once you have the right tools to do it, it's not that difficult. So in other words, it's like for an electrician to do it is not very difficult, but for somebody who's just walking down the tunnel, it's a fairly vandal resistant system, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Commissioner Attia.
All my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Same here. So we thank you very much for your presentation. It's a really interesting and unique concept.
Thank you again for your time. Appreciate it.
We are at our last presentation. It's by Han Ho, and he was unable to join but has a video presentation that he's going to share.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Han Ho. Thank you very much for allowing me present my project to the Arts and Culture Commissions. I am Seoul-based contemporary Korean artist working across various genres, media art, technology, and painting, installation, sculpture, architecture, and performance. I have shown my works all over the world, including the special exhibition of the Venice Biennale, the Rio de Janeiro International Biennale in 2015, the UNESCO Human Rights Exhibition in Paris, and the Gwangju Biennale this year. My works express a message of the world, peace and harmony through light. It is called Eternal Light. Allow me highlight on my recent large-scale public artworks installed in the South Korea, my media art project in Daejeon. In massive 95 feet high by 80 feet wide LED-based artworks with budget of $5 million US. It was unveiled in 2022 in collaboration with the Korean Space Research Institute. The Korean NASA, the light in the sculpture change and respond to live data from automotive peer. The works combine science, technology, big data, sculpture, media painting, and the light. My proposed artworks for the Patterson Tunnel will similarly include painting and the light. In 2019, I was honored to perform in the front of the Grendel Comfort Woman Peace Statue during the memorial exhibition at Reflex Space Gallery at the Central Library. This performance was featured in the LA Times. In 2022, participated in another Reflective Space exhibition, this time with large 45 feet artwork made of painting and LED light. This was a special moment for me, represent Korea and Grendel as such prestigious and venues. I am honored to be finalist the Patterson Tunnel Public Artwork Project. Always, my works are light-based and present a message of the peace and social justice. The Grendel Patterson Pedestrian Tunnel Project is an important project and huge opportunity for me. My main consideration for this project is to make a light-based artworks that contact with people that move through the tunnel. Through this would be difficult project because the 160 feet length of the tunnel very long and narrow. But through my research, I found inspiration from the cave painting, which have many panels. With the tunnel project, they are enclosed space open long, with the idea of the representing always of the life and engaging with the local community. Similarly, I want my works to reflect Glendale past, present my future, as panorama was its way of the life, its social and natural ecosystem, its history and community, and of course, I want to use the light and painting. Glendale history is one of the extensions of many diverse elements. Over the long period of time in my design, my imagine Glendale to be kind of paradise in the making, greenery, low-lying hills, peace and probability for all. The works incorporates symbol of Glendale history and envision this beautiful city future. Glendale history is also American history. For me, it is symbolized by the space industry, dream of the wild horse, and the Christian faith, also by train, cowboys, airplane, and the eagle wing, a symbol of the peace. All of the play the important part of my installation was to promote architectural seat in the city, like Alex Theater and Forest Lawn Memorial Park. My installation changed color over time, allowing viewer to interact with it in the multiple ways. Mimicking in the fourth season, the installation is hand painting in 100% monotone on aluminum plate. LED lights are embedded inside the works and change similarly from the red and green to pink, blue. My works painting of light. The kinetic fusion of the painting, LED light, and imaginations. The artwork is modular and will be installed on the tunnel. Each modular piece will have an access portal. On the outside will be reflective glass aluminum. We also install a safety management system to monitor the electricity and LED usage. A timer will control the LED light. This product can be pushed locally. LED light can very easily be reflected in the daily grade over time. For routine maintenance, my maybe contact and I will arrange the contactor to make it repair immediately. Maintenance will be artist's responsibility for the first 2 years. Under glass, aluminum, maintenance costs are expected to around $300. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Yank, comments, questions?
I'd just like to note that I can try to answer any questions. His team kind of briefed me on some of the details of the concept. So yes, if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer.
Great. We'll address them to you.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead. Okay.
Can we go to the part of the video where it shows what it would look like? Because it was a little bit quick. It was like towards the 3/4 of the video. Sorry, just so I can remember exact. Because it was a hand painting, but it also included LED lights, correct?
That's correct. And it's kind of in a similar style to the installation he did at the library here in Glendale. So they're basically sheets of mirror with like holes punched in them where the lighting comes through and creates the artwork that's kind of like this. And I can kind of do like a brief recap of the video as well, just because I know it went kind of quick.
So it's a mirror reflective surface that you see yourself, and it has holes that then the light shines through, but it's also creating an image at the same time.
Yes, you actually wouldn't see yourself since it's painted.
It's painted.
Another option is they could also use like aluminum sheets where they punch out the holes. And so basically what you're seeing on the screen is that's a painted artwork, and then there are small holes punched in for the lighting to come through.
Okay, understood. I don't really have questions right now. I think the video is great, though. I wish we could do that for all of them and save time. And I really liked the rendering he did for the outside portion of the tunnel. I wish it looked like that with it was like concrete slabs with really beautiful grass. But no questions. Thank you. Sorry.
Commissioner Tufenkian.
Well, I think it's beautiful. I like that he's incorporating a lot of Glendale key monuments and icons and so on. So I like that. I really like the effect of walking through it, and it's like a storyboard. I guess how much light will go through and how, I guess, temper resistant will it be? Are my questions.
That's a good question. So as far as electricity, I know it takes 10 kilowatts. As far as how bright the lighting, I think that can be adjusted. And I'm sorry, what was your question? Your last question?
I guess vandal proof, because I feel like some of these things might be a little bit more
right
vandal liking.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say, but
definitely. They have a maintenance plan put together where they can actually add a coating, so that way it can't be vandalized, like a graffiti-proof coating can be added to the outside of the structure.
Quick question, if it were to get vandalized, will that prevent the light to shine through to make light in the tunnel?
Actually, that's a great question, but I don't think so. I guess it would depend on if you're saying like if someone tried to spray paint over it.
You had said that it's a punch. They punch holes through and then they mount. Well, I'm thinking they mount it over the light, so the light is shining through it. So if they were to
if they were,
it'll prevent the light from.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it's a possibility if they could reach the light, but also the lighting could be placed far back enough to where I don't think it could cover the entire lighting portion. But yes, there would definitely have to be some maintenance people to come out and clean it up pretty quickly.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Atian.
My questions have been answered. Thank you.
I was a little bit confused about the content of what Tantamount, it's a mural, basically. We're talking about murals here. And I saw some references to historic things in Glendale, but I also saw I saw references to, different types of animals and religion and different things. So I wanted to get a little firmer view about the content of this mural that he envisions.
Sure, yeah. So he took a bunch of landmarks in Glendale and tied them together in kind of this larger experience. Also, one thing that I want to highlight from the video is there is like a lighting element where the lights change colors every 15 seconds to kind of mimic like the time of day. They tried it with 30 seconds, but they said that felt a little bit slow. So 15 seconds is kind of the standard that they would like to go with. And it can also be fixed to a single color, but as of right now, the plan is to have the color change every 15 seconds. And in the actual renderings of this, you can kind of see all the different Glendale landmarks that are highlighted. And then he tied in animals and different things like that are native to the area.
And do these animals and different references refer to things that are native to Glendale, or was he just giving examples?
I believe so, and then...
believe so what? He was giving examples, or...
yes, that's
that
correct.
weren't specific to Glendale, just as examples?
I think he has some American examples, but for the most part, these all tie back to Glendale.
Okay, so basically it's mostly historic buildings.
That's correct. Yeah. And actually, on our PDF, whenever we kind of review all of the concepts, I have a few slides where you can see the actual design a little bit more up close. Because I know in the video, it kind of runs through them quickly.
Yeah, thank you.
Was there a budget in that video? I don't remember seeing. If there was, can we go back to it quickly?
I'm not sure that he included the budget in the video, but he did submit a budget for this one.
Do you remember off the top of your head?
Yeah, so for all of them, the budget was $300,000.
Okay. Well, so one of them actually went over the budget. That's why I'm asking.
Okay. That's the amount we have allocated.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. So now I guess we are going on to the deciding phase here. So we'll start with Commissioner Yank.
Okay. I think that these are all strong proposals. And I have the biggest reservations about the last proposal, because I think doing a mural inside a very narrow tunnel is going to be a really strange experience for people to view it in any way that makes sense. And I am concerned about the feasibility as well as the maintenance of that one. I think the other four are all pretty strong. I would say the ones that jump out to me as perhaps being like the most, I feel like they considered the budget the most clearly and the feasibility of all the pieces, and really were thinking clearly about maintenance and like people's actual use of the tunnel was the first one, Lachlan and Monroe, and then the agenda architecture. The Lachlan and Monroe, I like the way that they were thinking about color. It just seems like a very flexible kind of system that they've come up with that I think would provide a really interesting experience for people. And then the agenda architecture one, I am really compelled by the archway. I think that's like a new and different thing that we didn't see on most of them. Like they really thought about the invitation into the tunnel in a new and different way. I am a little concerned about the mirrors and just like how long they're gonna last over time. But I think it was like a very thoughtful design. So those are two that are jumping out for me, though I will say I think out of the first four were all pretty strong and we couldn't go wrong with any of them. But I'll leave my comments at there for now.
Okay, Commissioner Zadorian.
All right, and I'll go ahead and just say my top two, which was like Commissioner Yank's, Studio Lachlan Turkin and Monroe Eisenberg. And then my second one would actually be Akiko Yamashita and Caroline Marks. My concern, however, would be that they would need to include the outer portions, and I would want to see what that looks like and how that changes our budget. I would also like to, from Akiko and Caroline's, there was 3 options, obviously. And the ones I liked the most were Sunbeam. I like that it allowed for different color blocks and color, and we could change it to the flags, holidays, etc. And I like Tuzuku, the continuation one. I enjoy the color variations, and I think this could work if we extend it to the outer portions. Other concerns I do have that I want to keep in mind, other than voting for these, is to make sure we're including those outer portions and how it changes the budget. I see that in the renderings, a lot of them, there's a pole in the middle. I'm hoping that's actually there in person. I don't remember that when I went. I do think that we do need to include the risk warning that we discussed earlier to limit liability. I do think we should discuss with the city how we can include CCTVs to prevent any kind of vandalism, whether that's on the outside, most likely, rather than the inside, just so people feel like they can't be going in and damaging property because they're on camera that the city owns. I would like to eventually move this to the outer portions and that hideous fencing on the outside of the landscaping. Maybe touch that up, create another like longer wall. Sorry, guys.
No.
Continue the wall on the outside and even create something there with murals or other kind of lighting. That's a project for another time. And then, of course, next to move on to our freeway bridges. And those are my comments.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Tufenkian.
Thank you for all the presentations, very strong presentations. I absolutely love Hanho's concept. I do feel like it might be a little bit of a narrow space to view a mural. So possibly if we could move it to one day to another location, that would be a great project to have. I also really like Poetic Kinetics. I think that was, to me, that felt the warmest, safest, brightest tunnel to walk through. However, I do have reservations on how that would work, just because I feel those tubes would be, young people might want to hang off of those, or the openings just might be too much, or the light might reflect too much in people's eyes. So for those reasons, I'll pass on that one. And I definitely like Agenda Architecture, the archway. I think that would be a great one to have. And I also do like Studio Tertzen. I think that was the first one that we had. And I think that would probably be the best practical and beautiful solution to it. So I would go with those two as my top choices.
Which two were they? Sorry.
The first one and Agenda Architecture.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Soria.
I loved all of them. Honestly, they were all so great. But my top two would probably be the Akira Yamashita and Caroline Marks. That the sunbeam and the continuous light fixture. I think that was really cool, and it was like one of the brightest ones, as well as the Poetic Kinetics. Super bright, lights up the whole tunnel. You feel super safe walking through. And just for the kids and anyone who's walking at night, brightness is, I think, for me, the key concept of this. But everyone else did an amazing job.
Commissioner Achian.
My top two are Studio Lachlan and Studio Monroe, as well as Poetic Kinetics. Just because I think those are more safe for children who might want to vandalize. With Agenda Architecture, I'm worried about the mirrors. Hanho, like as we said, too big of a mural to view in a narrow space. And Poetic Kinetics, I feel like the beams are high enough for kids not being able to reach them. Plus it's more like, I like the pastel colors. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. My number one is Lachlan. Flexibility, interest, movement, color changing, and flexibility not only in the piece itself, but in their willingness to consider different things like music and extension to the outside. And then the second one, Yamashita and Poetic Kinetics. I think they both have their benefits. I might tend a little more to Poetic Kinetics, but those are my top three, with Lachlan being number one. I would like to personally discount the Agenda Architecture one. I think it's really cool, and I love the arch, and I think we do need to have something on the outside, but I just have some concerns about the mirrors there, so I'm gonna let that one go and maybe bring them back for something else. I did not like the content suggestions of the Hanho piece, and I feel that in any case, it's not appropriate for that long, skinny space, and that we should go with strictly light and movement and not try to tell some kind of a story in there that would have people stopping and looking. So I know Han has been very successful in Glendale and does wonderful work, and it would be nice to see him come back for something else, maybe a mural on the outside of some building. So number one, Lachlan, and the other two, I'm on the fence, and we'll hear the votes of the other commissioners and decide.
It looks like we have 5 people for the first one, and then we have 3 for the second, for Akiko Yamashita and Caroline Marks. So is that something we want to do, is move forward with the first one? The second one is at the secondary option?
Well, I think we could vote on a first option first and a second option second.
I think the motion has to include both.
Oh,
So the
both?
first and the
Okay.
second option.
All right, does somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion.
Hang on. Did anybody?
Oh, I just,
Go ahead.
given the concern about the mirrors, which I agree with, I mentioned that, I would say that I agree that Yamashita and Marks would be a good secondary. And I do like the 2, the Sunbeam and Suzuka, that were mentioned, so we can also mention that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Anyone else want to?
Do we want to mention both?
I don't know how to,
If
like,
it goes to city council, we could leave it open to their discussion and what they
for
like.
like the secondary, but we may not, do we have to cross that bridge right now?
Seems like if we have debate about an issue and there's, there's some, not conflict, but, that 3 could be presented. 1 is number 1 and 2 alternatives.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's
May
what
I
we'll,
make the motion now? Okay.
go ahead.
Then I move to recommend that city council authorize the city manager designate to enter into an agreement for commission of artwork with an artist or artist team to design the public art continued, not to exceed 300,000 dispersed from the Urban Art Program Fund, with the first option as Studio Lachlan Turkin and Studio Monroe Eisenberg, and the second option as Akiko Yamashita and Caroline Marks, specifically the Sunbeam and Suzuku pieces.
And agenda.
And
I second.
Roll call, Vice Chair Yang,
Yes.
Commissioner Tufankian,
Yes, but didn't we say
Yeah,
for the second
2.
option, there's 2 of them?
There's
Did
2.
you
Yeah,
mention?
Sunbeam and Suzuku.
Okay,
The 2 patterns.
yes.
Okay.
okay, Commissioner Zadorian,
Yes.
and Chairperson Vidor.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I make a comment? I really feel strongly that, this is wonderful, and it's going to be very cool, and hopefully become a destination. But I really think beyond the approval of a piece and getting started on that, we have to work with other departments to improve that area. We spent a lot of time there yesterday, and I sent my pictures to our colleague here, and I'd like to share them with the rest of the commission through her, but, that is an area that has to be improved, landscaping-wise and otherwise, and we have to turn that whole area into a destination. Luckily, we have the park on one side, and an apartment building being built on the other, so interdepartment cooperation is going to be an issue here. Okay, we can go ahead. Thank you. Thank you all for your input. Great discussion, great questions.
I did have a question. Those recommendations that I made for CCTV and for, a warning sign, can we include that with the recommendation that's going to city council, please?
Yeah, I can definitely make sure to include that when we present it to City Council.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
Agenda item 7, discussion items, 2023 to 2024 work plan progress updates.
Commissioners, we have a few exciting updates that we've had in the past month or so. We have continued to work with the City Attorney's Office with the mural ordinance, and we're also in conjunction working with Sarah Odenkirk, who's our public art law consultant, and she's literally going through the last review of the ordinance. Hopefully, we're going to be able to share a draft with you very soon, if not early in the new year, with the goal of adopting the ordinance sometime in the spring or summer of 2025. So we are making progress on that. We do have our Beyond the Box program, our utility box art program. We have 12 artists who are literally in the process of painting the utility boxes right now. On your on the dais here, you have assignments of different utility boxes. The commissioners are invited to visit and thank the artists for their participation in the program. So those are happening as we speak. Blue Jewel City Concert Series, as Ms. Lopez shared, is continuing on Saturdays on the Artsock Paseo. 2 more concerts are left with Jay Weto and Ominous Ducks, so we hope you can visit us there. We do have an exciting update with our Getty PSD Blended Worlds exhibit at JPL with JPL. I wanted to show the video first, if you can. So we had the opening reception on September 21st. Thank you so much, Chairperson Vidor and Vice Chair Yang, for attending the opening reception. The ACE agency has done a fantastic job documenting the process of this exhibit. They created this video and also some other videos that are coming out as promotional items, but wanted to share this video as kind of an overview of how the exhibit went and the reception on 21st. So I don't know if Chairperson Vidor or Vice Chair Yank wanted to share about
In 2011,
their thoughts on the exhibit. Any feedback or thoughts you wanted to share?
I absolutely loved it. I thought that there was a lot of really powerful work. It also did a great job, which I think is just due to the sort of the partnerships that were happening of being almost like partially art exhibition and partially like interactive science center sort of exhibition, which I thought was really beautiful, and the kind of boundaries that between who was a scientist and who was an artist like were really broken down, because there were so many there were artists and scientists collaborating together on a lot of the pieces. So that to me was like was something I hadn't really seen before. And I actually came back like the next weekend with my sister and her family, and they were totally blown away. I think especially by the video piece, like the AI poetry. It was just, you know, not the most gigantic exhibition, but everything like packed a very powerful and thought-provoking punch. And I think that video did a great job of kind of summing up the kind of experiences that you would have. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I think just the blending of the scientific and the artistic for me is very deeply personal. When we showed the film Neon the other night, it was a packed house and everybody went to the exhibit. And of course, you know, neon art is kind of a blend of art and science. So people really resonated with the whole idea of it. And it really, you know, it's such a cliche to say going outside the box, but, you know, everything I looked at in that exhibit made me think. Some of it made me a little uncomfortable, or, you know, I don't understand this, what's it all about? And it was very thought-provoking. And so it just created a lot of feelings and thinking that I hadn't experienced before. And that was amazing. And this video is very beautiful, and I assume it's on social media, and we can, is it shareable by us?
Yes, it's been shared on social media, and it's also on our YouTube channel, and then we can share all that with the commission as well.
I can't say enough about this exhibit, and I'm glad it's getting so much worldwide attention, and the PBS documentary is really stunning too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for everything you and the team did to make this a reality.
Thank you to the commission as being sponsors of it. We've been very excited about this exhibit. It's open till January 4th, so we hope all of you can come and visit, and anybody who's watching can visit as well. I also wanted to share, can you bring up the PowerPoint? As part of the Getty PSD Art Initiative, the Blended Worlds team also did have an event at the Alex Theater, so we're showing some visuals on the screen. It was a sold-out crowd that evening. Very exciting. Reggie Watts was the host of the evening. You can go to the next one. We, as a surprise guest, we had one of the artists who is exhibiting in the show, Moon Rebus, created a percussion score, and the Crescenti Valley High School drum line performed at the event. And I'll go back one second. A special guest was Stephen Perkins, who was the drummer for Jane's Addiction, also performed alongside the students, which was a real treat for them. Go to the next slide. We had a panel discussion with Victoria Modesta and the two JPL scientists who helped her in creating her work. And then we also had, at the end of the performance, was a small snippet performance from the Earth Data musical that's on at Caltech. So it was a really exciting night. We're very glad and pleased with the partnership and collaboration with JPL, and of course, a big thank you to the Alex Theater who produced the event. Next, we have, there's a couple more slides on there. As Chairperson Vidor had mentioned, this is an amazing opportunity that we've had to work with PBS Artbound's documentary series. They did a behind-the-scenes look at how the Blended Worlds exhibit was created, which is about an hour long. Highly recommend everyone go and visit to get an idea of what the exhibit is about and kind of the creation of that process of working with artists and scientists. So that is now available online. And then the next screen, PBS NewsHour also did a special on the Getty PSD Art Initiative, and then part of our exhibit is highlighted in there as well. So a lot of fantastic press that we've been garnering for this exhibit. It's, I think, the biggest thing we've done within the city so far. So we're very excited about the partnership with Getty, JPL, and it's been a wonderful opportunity. So I highly recommend everyone go and visit.
Yeah, it's like a big paradigm shift in the art world and the science world to have these come together this way, and I hope it's the start of something that keeps going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really great.
The last thing I just wanted to share is, and we can do this more next week, I know we're running late today, the ACE agency has done a lot of really wonderful work. They're doing a lot of our social media promos, artist spotlights and highlights specifically for this. We also have some tentpole banners that are going on throughout the city and digital billboards that are on to support the promotion of this exhibit, which we can share about more next week, or next month. But just wanted to share that the ACE is doing really wonderful work in promotion of this exhibit as well. And those are the updates.
Okay, thank you very much. Next.
Agenda item 8, commission and staff comments.
Well, I think we just made some comments on Blended World. If anyone has any other comments, please chime in.
Yeah, I would like to make a comment.
Okay.
Just thank you. In Armenian, we say Bartskat Qatar. So all the hard work you guys put in, because years ago, we had a brainstorming session to discuss what we wanted the theme of art to be in Glendale, and we kept throwing out the concepts of technology, science, and art. And now that I'm seeing it come to fruition, it's a beautiful, thing to see of like these things that we talked about. These concepts are now really out there, even with the tunnel. All those projects really incorporate all those concepts that we discussed. So I'm very happy about that. And then I would like to congratulate and welcome our two new commissioners, Ms. Kazorian and Ms. Atayan. Welcome. I hope it's very easy and flows. And if you have any questions, we're always here. If we talk too much, feel free to stop us. We hope that you learn a lot and that it helps excel you into your futures. Thank you.
Any other comments? I have a comment. But
Welcome, young ladies, and thank you so much for your commission help. And thank you so much again to Jennifer, always, and the staff and everyone. Thank you.
yes, always. And right, you two really hit the ground running with some really great, very relevant and high-quality questions. I really appreciate it, and so welcoming you both. And I was going to say something else, but I can't remember what it was, obviously. Maybe time to retire. But anyway, no, the Blended Worlds thing, I think it doesn't get any better, and I hope that we can continue to build on it. So thank you all very much. And wonderful. I want to say something about those of you who have been involved in the Adams Square Mini Park gas station selection. It's just been great. Things are very, very site-specific, and we had a wonderful little art reception for Natalie Gonzalez the other day. And so thank you all very much, my fellow commissioners. Call for adjournment. Motion
To
to
have a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you.